Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Joyce Hong, and there are 5 members in our group: Mikey Mooney, Brianna Federal, Rachel Manning, and Whitney Wilson, and I. The objective of our research is to investigate how much influence one Twitter user can on people's political standings. During the research, we heavily relied on the theory of second-level agenda setting, and we designed the questionnaire, and thanks to some professors, we invited a certain number of undergraduate students to participate into our research online. We used SPSS to analyze the data we collected, and the conclusion showed that the celebrity Twitter is the most prominent among all the media users we started, and the politician Twitter is is considered to be the most expertise and get the highest score trust.
As Joyce mentioned, our theory that we examined most was a second-level agenda setting. Agenda setting in itself is the idea that news stories will talk about issues, and then the public will be concerned about those stories that the news story covered. Second-level agenda setting hones in on the specific attributes and issues that the story discusses. So if a news story talks about the economy, that would be agenda setting. When the public starts to get concerned, but specific policies would be second-level agenda setting. So you see this in traditional news where economic concerns come up in news and people are concerned about it. It becomes a part of public discourse. While we look at the source, we can also examine that political advertisements have had a significant impact on people's public discourse when talking about certain issues such as candidate integrity that can be found. So what we decided to look at was a different source, not this traditional media, but look at social media and see what Twitter has to offer. During the 2008 election, it was found that number of mentions for a candidate directly corresponded with the number of votes that they got, so that gives some leeway to the idea that second-level agenda setting would be very real in this setting. So what we examined are whether celebrities or politicians would have more of a stance in the second-level agenda setting. The issue that we examined was offshore drilling, and that's because this has been a major issue in the past, but during the last election cycle it may not have been as polarizing or debated, so it's something that would be fresh into our respondents' minds.
So we followed a post-positive paradigm and conducted an experiment. We had 4 cells, 3 of which saw the manipulated source, which would be our independent variable, and then 1 control that saw no source, no tweets. An advantage of using an experiment would be the fact that if all variables are properly controlled, we will know what caused the outcomes that we see, but a drawback would be challenges to ecological validity. The fact that this is an experiment and conducted online and not actual reality could mean that it would not be generalizable to reality. However, we do use 2 sources that participants would be familiar with, which exist in the real world: Condoleezza Rice, our politician, and Oprah Winfrey, our celebrity. Our 3rd source was an average person who did not need to be an actual person. They just needed to be similar to the participants so that they would feel like that person was, like one of them, would be kind of a friend figure. Also, because we believe that reality is independent of the observer, we were able to simplify it into variables in order to see the cause and effect relationship between the source and second-level agenda setting. Our experiment was conducted using the online service Qualtrics. Participants would go onto the Qualtrics site and see the Twitter feed and then click through to the post-test questions. Participants came from a large southeastern university. They were found through intro-level classes so that we would get more of a selection of majors. It wouldn't be all communication or politics. We would have more variety there. Some of the students were allowed extra credit if the professors allowed for it. Also, because we were using the online social media site Twitter, and most younger people use Twitter, it is acceptable then to use undergraduate students in our study. Participants were emailed a link to the Qualtrics survey. Each link was unique to the participant. Qualtrics would randomly sort them into a cell, and that was also contained in the link, and they could only complete the link one time, so they can go back and do our survey or questions multiple times. And they were also emailed the deadline to which they needed to complete the survey. And once they open the link, they'll see the Twitter feed. They were given an allotted amount of time to interact with the feed before they were allowed to click through to the post-test. The first questions on the post-test determined their knowledge and opinions of offshore drilling. The next questions determined the source, whether they were boring or engaging. Then we had semantic differential questions asking whether the source was credible, using trust or expertise to value credible, whether the source was likable or whether they approved of the source. And then we had two questions asking generically whether celebrities or politicians were likable. And then we had a question determining their political involvement through attitude toward voting. And then we asked demographic questions like their race, age, gender, political beliefs, and their time on social media. And then we followed up with the manipulation check asking what the source was of the Twitter feeds that they saw, or that they saw no source, or no Twitter feeds, excuse me. And then, of course, there's the thank you screen, thanking them for their time and explaining that the Twitter feeds were in no relation to the source that they saw and they were made up for the research. Because the researchers, we were not present because it was online, there's no way to know that participants would accurately fill out the questions or even pay enough time to the Twitter feed, even though they had to stay on that page for a certain amount of time. So that could challenge the results of our experiment. But because we included sources that are actual people instead of generic made-up brands, that would bring a little bit of generalizability to our experiment. Also, we kept it internally valid by only manipulating one source of our, one variable of our stimulus, which is the source. Everything else on the Twitter feeds was kept identical, and we had a control group also to control for internal validity.
So after we finished compiling all of our data and cleared it up in SPS, we reverse coded as necessary. We also ran a manipulation check, which resulted in a significant chi-squared rating of 369.3. And as done in previous studies, which we drew inspiration for this study from, we had our indices formulated for each of the different attribute categories, and we tested each indice's reliability to see their Cronbach-Alpha score. Most of the indices had significant alphas, except for politician and celebrity likability. We also conducted independent sample t-tests to look at the relationship between the attributes and gender, and how gender affected how people gave these public figures attributes. Significance wasn't found between most of these variables, except when regarding politician likability. Results showed that women favored politicians and liked them more than men, with a 2.1 difference in their mean.
We also conducted an ANOVA, and when we conducted it, we found that celebrities tested the highest in salience. When it came to effective salience, celebrities tested higher than politicians, and the control tested higher than politicians and regular people. When it came to emotions, we found that control tested higher than politicians. Conversely, in likability, the celebrity tested higher than the control. When it came to politicians, we also found they were given the highest expertise rating, and they were also given the highest trust rating with 9 points above the control. When it came to trust, celebrities were given the second highest score with 8 points above the control, and the regular person was given 5 points above the control, which means that people who took our survey trusted politicians almost twice as much as they trusted regular people. As far as future research goes, people need to keep in mind that we had some limitations as far as our study goes, such as the fact that we conducted our research at a southern university, which tends to lean a little more to the right, which may have skewed our results a little bit. They also need to keep in mind that the nature of online questionnaires, just as a thing, kind of has limitations as far as that goes, such as the fact that it's not exactly like reality. Thank you all so much for your time, and we hope you have a good day.